The most dangerous thing in a survival situation isn't the cold, it isn't the heat, it isn't the terrain, it's the advice you already believe. Most of what you've been taught about staying alive is wrong. Not incomplete. Wrong. Military survival training exists to strip this garbage out of people's heads before it kills them. SERE School, the Air Force Survival School at Fairchild, combat medic protocols out of Iraq and Afghanistan, all of it built on one principle: unlearn the myth before it buries you. One of the most widely sold survival products in this country has been clinically proven to extract less than 1/1000th of what it claims to remove. It's still on shelves everywhere. 11 myths, 11 corrections straight from military doctrine. By the end of this video, you'll know what actually works. Most people will keep repeating what they saw on TV. You won't. Myth 1. Suck the venom out. You've seen it 100 times. Someone gets bit. Someone else pulls out a knife or drops their mouth to the wound and starts sucking. It looks decisive. It looks like action. It's theater. Venom binds to tissue within seconds of injection. It moves through the lymphatic system, not sitting in a neat little pocket waiting to be extracted. Suction devices, the ones sold in kits at every outdoor retailer, have been tested under controlled clinical conditions. The result? Less than 1/1000th of the venom removed. That's not a rounding error. That's zero. You're buying a plastic prop. But here's what makes it worse. When you put your mouth on a snakebite wound, you're introducing oral bacteria directly into punctured tissue. You're adding infection risk to envenomation. You're creating two problems where there was one. Combat medic protocol for snakebite is simple. Immobilize the limb. Keep the bite at or below heart level. Reduce movement. Evacuate to definitive care. No cutting, no sucking, no tourniquet on the limb. You keep the patient calm, keep the heart rate low, and get them to anti-venom. That's it. The civilian version looks dramatic. The version that actually works looks boring. Boring keeps people alive. Myth 2. Ration your water. This one kills people every year. Search and rescue teams in the Southwest have recovered bodies with water still in their canteens. Full canteens. The person died of dehydration with the solution on their hip. They were rationing. They were being smart. They were wrong. Water in a container does nothing for you. Water in your body does everything. Your blood needs it to circulate. Your brain needs it to make decisions. Your kidneys need it to filter waste. When you ration water, you're not saving a resource. You're watching yourself deteriorate in slow motion. Here's the part nobody talks about. Dehydration degrades cognition before it triggers thirst. Your brain starts making worse decisions before your mouth feels dry. By the time you think you should start drinking that rationed supply, your judgment is already compromised. You're now making survival decisions with a brain that's losing function. That's not a plan. That's a cascade. Drink when you have water. Find more water. That's the protocol. If you're in a situation where water is genuinely finite and rescue isn't coming, you have a timeline problem, not a rationing problem. And rationing won't fix a timeline. Myth 3. Eat snow for hydration. Snow is water. That part's true. But it's not free water. You're paying for it. The cost is heat. It takes approximately 1 BTU to melt 1 gram of snow. That sounds abstract until you do the math on volume. You're not eating 1 gram. You're eating handfuls. Repeated consumption creates a measurable core temperature drop. You're accelerating hypothermia onset to avoid dehydration. You're trading one emergency for a worse one. The Northern Warfare Training Center in Alaska drills this into every soldier. Melt it first, always. Use a dark container in sunlight. Use body heat against a water bottle inside your clothing. Use a fire if you have one. Any method that doesn't run the conversion through your core temperature. Snow looks like the easiest water source on the planet. It's sitting right there. But your body is the furnace doing the melting, and that furnace has a limited fuel supply. Every handful costs you warmth you can't get back without calories you probably don't have. Free water that costs you core temperature isn't free. It's the most expensive water you'll ever drink. Myth 4. Build a fire first. You're cold, you're wet, you're scared. Every instinct says fire. Every survival show starts with fire. It feels like the first thing you should do. It's not. FM 21-76, the Army Survival Manual, puts shelter first, not fire. Shelter, here's why. Fire without shelter is an incredibly inefficient heat source. Wind strips the warmth before it reaches your body. Rain kills the flame or turns your fuel to steam. You're dumping energy into a task that may take hours in wet conditions, burning through matches or ferro rod strikes, exhausting yourself physically and psychologically. And if you fail, you're now colder, more tired, and out of ignition sources. A crude shelter, even a debris pile against a fallen log, traps your body heat. It blocks wind. It reduces convective heat loss. It doesn't need to be pretty. It needs to exist. You can build a functional shelter in 30 to 45 minutes with no tools. That shelter buys you time. Time to rest, time to dry out, time to then build a fire inside a protected space where the heat actually stays with you. Shelter first, fire second. Sequence matters more than speed. Myth 5. Tourniquets cost limbs. This myth has killed more people than almost any other entry on this list. For decades, civilian first aid taught hesitation. Apply pressure, elevate. Try everything else first. A tourniquet was the last resort, the desperate measure that would cost the patient their arm or leg. Military medicine buried this myth in data. During the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan, tourniquet use saved an estimated 1,000 to 2,000 lives. The Committee on Tactical Combat Casualty Care rewrote the entire doctrine. A properly applied tourniquet can stay in place for 2 hours with minimal risk of limb damage. 2 hours. That's not a guess. That's studied, documented, peer-reviewed. In a combat scenario, the medic isn't thinking about whether to apply a tourniquet. That decision was made before the firefight started. The tourniquet is already staged on the kit, ready to go. Hesitation is what kills. Arterial bleeding can cause fatal blood loss in 3 to 5 minutes. You don't have time to try pressure first and then escalate. You go high and tight, stop the bleeding, and reassess. Civilian first aid is still teaching a doctrine that military medics consider a death sentence. If someone is bleeding from a limb and the blood is bright red and pulsing, you put a tourniquet on. You twist it until the bleeding stops. You note the time. That's the protocol that has been proven under fire for over 20 years. Everything else is a gentler version of watching someone bleed out. Myth 6. Moss grows on the north side of trees. No military land navigation course teaches this. Not one. Not Army. Not Marine Corps. Not Air Force Survival School. Moss grows where moisture is, shaded sides of trees, near water sources, under canopy cover. It has nothing to do with cardinal direction. In dense forest, moss can grow on every side of every tree. In open terrain, it might not grow at all. It's a moisture indicator, not a compass. But the real danger isn't bad information, it's false confidence. You look at moss, you pick a direction, you feel certain, you start walking, and every step you take in the wrong direction doubles your rescue difficulty. You're moving away from your last known position, you're making the search area larger. You're burning calories and water on movement that's taking you deeper into trouble. The statistically survivable choice in almost every wilderness scenario is to stay put. Mark your position. Signal. Wait. Walking out sounds heroic. Staying put sounds passive. But search and rescue data says the people who stay put get found. The people who walk on bad navigation don't. Now, pay attention to this one. This is the myth that sounds the most logical and traps the most people. Myth 7. Follow water downstream to find civilization. It makes perfect sense. People build near water. Rivers lead to towns. Follow the creek and you'll find a road. In a textbook, that's reasonable. In actual wilderness terrain, it's a trap. Waterways in backcountry don't flow neatly to civilization. They cut into canyons, they drop into gorges. They funnel into increasingly dense, impassable vegetation. Every step downstream commits you further into terrain that gets harder to escape. Documented search and rescue cases from the Pacific Northwest and the Appalachian Range tell the same story. People followed streams. The terrain narrowed. The water dropped into gorge systems. They couldn't go forward. They couldn't climb back out. They required technical rope rescue from terrain they walked into voluntarily. Military evasion training teaches terrain assessment before committing to any direction of travel. You study the landscape. You look for ridgelines, not drainages. High ground gives you visibility. Drainages take it away. The advice that feels safest produces the worst entrapment scenarios. That's what makes this myth so dangerous. It doesn't sound wrong. It sounds like common sense. And common sense will walk you right into a canyon you can't climb out of. Myth 8. Play dead with bears. This advice is half right. And in survival, half right gets people killed. Grizzly bear encounters are frequently defensive. A mother with cubs. A bear surprised on a trail. In those encounters, playing dead can reduce the bear's perception of threat. You cover your neck, go fetal, and wait. That protocol has documented survival outcomes for grizzly defensive encounters. Black bear attacks are different. Black bears that approach humans aggressively are typically displaying predatory behavior. They're not defending territory, they're hunting. Playing dead in a predatory black bear attack removes your only survival option, which is aggressive resistance. Fight back. Make noise. Strike the face and nose. Use anything available as a weapon. The blanket advice to play dead suppresses the exact survival response you need in the encounter, most likely to be lethal. Most people can't distinguish grizzly from black bear under stress. They default to the advice they've heard most. That advice is play dead, but joint base. Elmendorf. Richardson wildlife briefings teach the distinction explicitly. Defensive encounter with a grizzly, go passive. Predatory encounter with a black bear, go aggressive. One rule for bears sounds simple, two rules sound complicated. But complicated keeps you alive when the simple version gets it exactly backward. Myth 9. The universal edibility test. You'll find this in older survival manuals. It's a multi-step process. Touch the plant to your skin. Wait. Touch it to your lip. Wait. Place it on your tongue. Wait. Each step takes hours. The full test for a single plant takes 24 hours. In a survival event that statistically lasts 1 to 3 days, you've just spent your entire rescue window testing one plant. And here's the math that kills the strategy. Most wild plants have minimal caloric value. The energy your body expends on digestion can exceed what the plant provides. You're running a net caloric loss. You're weaker after eating than before, but it gets worse. Many toxic plants produce no immediate symptoms during the test window. You pass every stage, you eat it. 12 hours later, your liver is failing. SERE instructors treat foraging as an absolute last resort, not a strategy. In a short-duration survival event, which is what most of them are, the priority stack is water, shelter, signal, not food. Your body can function without food for weeks. It can't function without water for 3 days. It can't function without shelter in extreme temperatures for hours. Spending 24 hours testing a plant that might give you 80 calories or might shut down your kidneys is not survival. It's gambling with the worst odds in the wilderness. Myth 10. Rub frostbitten skin or warm it by a fire. Your fingers are white. They're numb. They're waxy. Every instinct says rub them, get the blood flowing, warm them up fast. That instinct will cost you your fingers. Frostbitten tissue contains ice crystals formed between and within your cells. When you rub that tissue, you're driving those crystals through cell walls. You're converting recoverable frostbite into permanent tissue death. The damage isn't from the cold anymore. The damage is from your treatment. Warming by fire is the same problem from a different angle. Direct heat creates an exterior to interior thermal gradient. The outside tissue thaws while the inside remains frozen. That uneven thawing causes severe cellular damage. The tissue dies not because it froze, but because it thawed wrong. Cold weather medical protocol is specific. Rewarm in water between 100 and 104 degrees Fahrenheit. Controlled environment only. Gradual, uniform thawing. And here's the critical addition. If there's any possibility the tissue will refreeze, don't rewarm at all. A thaw and refreeze cycle produces dramatically worse outcomes than sustained freezing. It is better to walk on a frozen foot to shelter than to thaw it and have it refreeze on the way. That sounds extreme. It's not. It's the protocol taught at every cold weather military training facility. The civilians rubbing their hands together by the campfire are destroying tissue that a medic could have saved. Myth 11. Drink urine to stay hydrated. This is the one that embodies everything wrong with entertainment-driven survival advice. You've seen it on TV. You've seen it treated like a bold, gutsy survival move. It's not. It's a chemistry problem with only one answer. Urine contains the metabolic waste your kidneys just spent energy removing from your blood. Urea, creatinine, sodium. Dissolved compounds your body identified as harmful and expelled. When you drink it, you're forcing your kidneys to reprocess waste they already filtered. That reprocessing requires water, more water than the urine provides. Each cycle concentrates the waste further. The first round is bad. The second is worse. The third is approaching toxic. You're not hydrating. You're accelerating dehydration with each pass. Documented post-rescue medical evaluations show accelerated kidney stress and faster dehydration progression in individuals who consumed their own urine versus those who drank nothing. Nothing outperformed urine. Let that sink in. Every branch of the military explicitly prohibits urine consumption in survival situations. Everyone. The advice exists because it makes dramatic television. It gets views. It gets shared. It creates a memorable moment. It also creates a patient who's in worse condition than if they'd simply waited for rescue. If you're out of water, your priorities are signaling for rescue and reducing exertion to minimize fluid loss. Your urine isn't a resource. It's waste. Your body already made that decision for you. Every one of these myths has something in common. They sound right. They feel right. They've been repeated so many times that questioning them feels like questioning common sense. But common sense isn't a survival strategy. Tested protocol is. The corrections aren't complicated. Immobilize the bite, drink your water, melt the snow, build the shelter, apply the tourniquet, stay put, read the terrain, know the bear, skip the plants, warm slowly, and never ever drink your own urine. You walked into this video carrying bad information. Now you're not.